Hey guys, it's RWC here. In this video, I'm going to give you guys my combined starting 15 between the Irish and the All Blacks for this 2023 Rugby World Cup. Of course, these two sides are going to be facing in the quarterfinal this week. So I thought, what better time to give you guys this kind of combined starting 15 between these two great sides. Again, before we get into this, make sure to like the video, guys, subscribe to our channel, and let me know in the comments what you guys think of this side, and let me know what your combined starting 15 would be as well. I'll definitely check a look at it, and I'll let you know my opinions on it as well. So definitely leave it in the comments because I want to see that kind of interaction as we normally do on this channel. But besides that, let's get straight into this. Again, with my front row that I've selected here for this combined 15, I've gone with the likes of Andrew Porter at the number 1, Cody Taylor at the number 2, and Tad Furlong at the number 3. I just think this is probably the most balanced, I'd say, front row that you could probably get out of these two sides. Again, Andrew Porter and Furlong have been, really just, the glue really, and I'd say that forward pack overall. I mean, those two have been playing for a long time together. And they haven't missed a beat in this World Cup. They've been starting every single game as well. I mean, most of the Irish side pretty much has started every game, but these two are just instrumental in what the Irish do in terms of their set pieces, particularly from the scrums. I thought, and again, you have to think of it from an All Black perspective as well, because the All Blacks, when you look at their loose head, they have the likes of Offatung Fassi and Ethan de Groot. And yes, Offatung Fassi is probably the one who's had more minutes so far in this World Cup. But it's kind of like 50-50 in terms of like who's going to get that spot. And, with the tight head, of course, you do have the likes of Tyrell Lomax, who was playing, up until this World Cup. He was the one getting, most of the minutes in that position. But of course, with his injury, it's been now Nipalalala. And it's just going a bit back and forth. And, again, the All Blacks are kind of blessed as well because, the likes of Tamati Williams as well as Fletcher Newell getting some minutes. Whereas with the Irish, you just have two, kind of just beasts in terms of that, in both positions. So it just makes a lot more sense to go with these two guys. And again, in terms of that hooker spots, I think when I look at the Irish, I mean, again, it's kind of a similar position to what New Zealand have. It's where, they don't have really kind of, I wouldn't say they have a first choice because they have a lot of good action hookers, guys. It's actually pretty tough to say who's going to be your starter because, again, the likes of, Dan Sheehan, who's, I'd say he's kind of seen as the, first choice overall. But again, you do have someone like Rowan Keller, obviously off the bench, who's been pretty impressive at times. So it's kind of really 50-50 between them. And you could probably make the same argument actually with the All Blacks as well, with somebody like Takalaho and Cody Taylor. But I just think this World Cup alone, I think Cody Taylor's probably been the most impressive hooker out of the bunch. So that's the reason why I've selected him ahead of the other hookers there. But again, moving then towards the locks for this combined starting 15. I've gone with the likes of Tag Byrne there at the number 4, and I've gone with Scott Barrett at the number 5. So it's a tough call this because both sides are kind of, I'm not saying stacked, but there's a lot of good selection, players to select in this position. And again, you remember there's for the All Blacks, you have the likes of Retallick, Whitelock, and, Barrett, of course. And then with the Irish, it's really, I'd say, Tag Byrne, and, you got, James Ryan, he was just unbelievable in himself, and he's just a very consistent guy overall. But again, you have to remember that I'm looking at this in terms of the World Cup. That's my lens in terms of what I'm going at for this kind of video here, and I just feel like Tad Byrne has probably been the more impressive lock, I'd say, compared to James Ryan throughout this World Cup. He's even had a few tries of his own, so it's been pretty impressive, and he's really just an impactful player for the Irish. And whenever they don't have him, they just don't seem like the same team. So he's definitely someone I want to include in this combined 15. And that's the same really with Scott Barrett. I mean, we've seen it recently where, again, we have the likes of, Retallick and Whitelock, and they've been, really good together for a very long time, actually. But Barrett has really stepped up, I'd say, throughout the last year or so. And he really has kind of taken that spot away at times from both Whitelock and Retallick. And they're the ones actually now switching in and out to play with Barrett. So it's pretty impressive what he's been able to do throughout this year. And within this World Cup, again, he's just been very solid. There's nothing really been, he hasn't had to do anything too flashy. He's just someone you can kind of rely on. And he's definitely someone I would like to have on my team. Again, I know people may state the obvious. Yeah, he could get a card or two, but hey, I'm willing to accept that for what he offers me in this side. So that's my locking pairing there. In terms of loose forwards I've selected, again, I've gone the likes of Peter Armani there, number 6. I've gone the likes of Josh Van der Filler, number 7, and then I've gone the big gun Arden Sevilla at number 8. And I just think that's probably the most, I mean, this is the one it was really hard to go between the two, but at the same time, it's one of those where this is probably the easiest decision I think I had throughout this whole combined starting 15, because I think these three alone just, they're just too good that I couldn't leave any one of these three out. And again, I guess you could probably say the hardest one to pick was probably number 8, because it's Arda Sevilla versus Kenan Doris, of course. But I think Arda Sevilla is just he's been really clearly known as one of the best 8s in the world for a very long time. And it's been pretty consistent on that front. And I just don't think you can ignore that. And within this Rugby World Cup, he's been very good. He's got a few. I think has he had a try? I think he's had a few tries, but I know he's definitely been impactful. That's for sure. And again, with Peter Amani and Josh Van der Veer, they've just been in very consistent performance, similar to what we saw with Andrew Porter and Tad Furlong, what I discussed earlier on. And just those two alone, just been so much towards this Irish side. And Peter Amani just gives you so much experience as a number 6, and he's someone you can never really underestimate in what he brings towards this Irish side. He's very, think of it in a weird way. Maybe this is a comparison you guys may not understand, but I kind of see him as the glue in terms of what Roy Keane was for Manchester United, where he was kind of the captain. He was a leader inside that team, and he kind of keeps everyone on the line and makes sure that everyone's doing their job, and just gets the best out of everyone. And I think that's what Peter Amani does. So that's the reason why I wanted to include him in this side. Again, Josh Van der Veer, you can't ignore him really. He was World Player of the Year, of course, and he's been pretty good throughout this World Cup as well. So he's definitely in the squad. And I've already discussed Arda Sevilla. So yeah, that's my loose forward trio there in terms of this combined starting 15. Again, moving on then towards the backs in terms of that 9-10 combination, I've gone with the likes of Aaron Smith at 9 and Johnny Sexton at 10. So yes, it's a bold call. Again, I think with the number 9, it's pretty easy, because I'm also maybe that's a bit too harsh. It's not easy, but I think most people would agree with me saying if you're going to pick between Aaron Smith and Jamison Gibson Park, you're going to go with Aaron Smith. I mean, he's just been similar to what you remember with I'm trying to think similar to what Peter Amani really in this side. In terms of the amount of minutes he's had throughout just his career really with the international, in terms of the international stage. He's just been a very, very consistent, but also impactful player for his side in terms of the All Blacks. And I think he would be able to bring that, in terms of this kind of combined starting 15. And yeah, he's had a really good World Cup actually as well. He scored a hat trick, obviously, in that game, I believe, against Italy. Was it Italy? I think. Yeah, it was Italy. He scored a hat trick in that game against Italy. And again, he's just a very consistent performer. And he's someone he gives you that experience as well, which is what I value a lot in terms of a scrum half as well. But yeah, look, I mean, you could also say Cameron Roygaard maybe in contention of maybe getting a shout. He's definitely worthy of a shout, but I just don't think you could put him ahead of Aaron Smith in this position. I just think he adds just that extra quality, which I don't think. I mean, Cameron Roygaard is definitely the future. I'll definitely admit that. But it's just one of those where if I was making my team exactly now, I'd still probably go Aaron Smith ahead of the other two in terms of Cameron Roygaard and Jamison Gibson Park. But it's closer than what you think, I think. But again, with number 10, it's another close decision. Johnny Sexton, I've chosen him ahead of the All Black 10s with the likes of Mwanga. You can probably say Bowden Barrett or even McKenzie there, because all three of them can really play there. But I've chosen Sexton ahead of all three of them. And I think, this World Cup has shown, that the Irish team he is like the puppet master, really, in terms of what this Irish team does. And without him, the Irish aren't really the same team. So just that alone is just shown me how much, they rely on Sexton. And he's just an incredible player. He's just so smart, actually, as well. I mean, it gets a lot of people just forget how smart he is actually in the game. And he's just someone who, I mean, when you have Aaron Smith and Sexton pairing up together, I think that's a great combination. So that's another reason why. And again, he became, I believe, Ireland's top try scorer, point scorer, in Rugby World Cups. So that's obviously a huge accomplishment in itself. And again, he's just an incredible player. So yeah, I had to put him in. It's just simple as that. But again, this is where it gets a bit interesting. For the center combination, I've gone with both the Irish combo in terms of Bondiaki and Gary Ringrose. I just think it's one of those where I don't think anyone will disagree with me that Bondiaki's in. I mean, him alone has been, you could arguably say, the best player in this tournament so far, Bondiaki. He has just been sensational, really, for the Irish. He's had, 4 tries, I think, so far. 2 against Romania, 2 against, I believe, what was the other one? my head's going a bit here. It's not, was it Italy? No, not Italy. It was, gosh, who's the other? I'm completely forgetting. Tonga. He scored 2 against Tonga as well. And again, it's one of those where he's just been all over the place. He's just a battering ram, and that's what I love about Buniaki. He just the Irish team really sets with him, and they use a lot of their attacking plays around him, like they're centered around him alone. So he's just a great player to have, and someone who I would like to definitely have in terms of this combined starting 15 here. But again, Gary Ringrose, I just think. Again, there's going to be a lot of, controversy maybe in this one. Hopefully there isn't, but knowing you guys, you probably will have a stick go at me here. But I think Gary Ringrose is such an underrated player in terms of what he does for this Irish side. And he's someone I've always appreciated, actually. And again, I know, obviously, the player he's really going against in that position in terms of this combined starting 15 is Reiko. And he's my favorite player, guys. Like, trust me when I say this. Like, Reiko is my favorite player in rugby. He's always been my favorite player since he started, really. So, trust me, it's a really hard decision not to include him. I just think Gary Ringrose he's had a better tournament than Reiko, and that's not. I think that's not harsh to say. And by the way, Reiko hasn't played bad at all. By the way, guys, it's just that Gary Ringrose has just been really instrumental in what the Irish have done so far in this group stage. And going into this quarterfinal, I just think that pairing alone would be just, if you're combining these sides, I think that's the pairing I'd probably go with. So I wouldn't want to kind of separate the two because those two alone, Buniaki and Gary Ringrose, just play so much, they just play better when they're, with each other in terms of that midfield department. So, that alone is the reason why I've chosen both of them. So hopefully you guys understand that reason as well. But again, Jordy Barrett, again, he's had a good tournament as well. I just feel bad for him because it's one of those where I guess I could put him at 15 if I wanted to. But it's really tough. It's really tough. But anyway, in terms of the final three here, this is the final three. And yes, it's it's going to be very controversial as you'd expect. But I've gone with the likes of James Lowe, number 11. I think it's one of those where a lot of people will be saying, what do you want about? Maybe people will be looking back at me like, look, have you not seen Leicester throughout this tournament? Have you not seen Martelea? I mean, both those guys have been sensational, actually, when you look at this, what they've done so far. And again, Leicester has just been incredible. Like, he scored, a hat-trick yesterday when I'm filming this. So it is, it's pretty hard to leave him out. But you have to understand, guys, is that I was there I saw that Ireland game live against the Box, and maybe that's the reason why maybe I'm swayed a bit in terms of that front. But I just thought, on that day, James Lowe was just unbelievable in terms of what he did for the Irish on that day, and just watching him live, I was like, whoa, like he is a big part in what they do in terms of that back line. And, his kicking alone is better than Leicester and Martelea. I mean, that's kind of pretty easy to say. I mean, he has a pretty big left boot of his. So that's kind of another skill set he would add towards this combined starting 15 as well. That alone is the reason why I've chosen James Lowe ahead of the other two All Blacks there. It's a tough call, really is, but I had to include him. I have to appreciate him for what I saw, and also just what he's also done throughout this tournament. So that's the reason why I've selected him ahead of the other two. In terms of that 14, I've gone with the likes of Will Jordan. I think this is a pretty easy decision. Will Jordan's been great throughout this World Cup, and again, his competition really is probably between it is Mac Hansen, as simple as that. It is Mac Hansen or Will Jordan, and I just think Will Jordan's probably been more impactful for his side compared to Mac Hansen. Again, Mac Hansen has, he did score that try against the Box, which was pretty impressive. But you got to go with, I think, Will Jordan here. It's just simple as that, really. But again, we're moving in towards the 15 here, and it's a tough decision, guys, because again, there's a lot of players I could have gone with here. Let me just list the players first, because there's actually a lot you can go with. You can probably go with McKenzie. You can go with Beauden Barrett. You can go Jordy Barrett here. You can shift them back there. Of course, there's Hugo Keane. You can probably put in there, obviously for the Irish. You can, if I wanted to, I could. James. I was going to say James Lowe could have gone maybe into the 15 and slot one of the All Black wingers there on the 11. But look, I have to be very honest in terms of what I've seen throughout this World Cup and who's stood out the most for me. I've actually gone with Damien McKenzie here. And I just think McKenzie, he's the one who, it surprises me because originally I would have said Beauden Barrett straight up, just because he's probably, he's had probably the most minutes out of all the players, and I think in that 15 position, if I'm not mistaken. But McKenzie, like, he's had such a good tournament in terms of the group stages, and going into this quarterfinal matchup between these two sides. If there's a player like who could just break down a team and just find spaces in the defense, and we've seen that throughout the the games against Uruguay, games against Italy, so and even like that Romania game as well. So like not Romania. Sorry, France. That's what I was trying to think of. But yeah, look, it's a tough call, this, guys. It's a really tough call. But I'm going to go with McKenzie there. I just think he's the right player to go with. And look, I think he's had, 5 tries in the Rugby World Cup, and he's been solid them between the posts. So he's another kicker, obviously, to add to Sexton if need be. But yeah, that is my starting 15 there. Combined starting 15 between the Irish and the All Blacks. Let me know obviously in the comments what you guys think. It's a very tough call. I'm still undecided again. I want to change a lot of these players and kind of make a new team from this. But hey, no, it's a fun kind of video, and I thought you guys may enjoy this. So obviously leave a like if you guys appreciated this concept. Obviously subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.